It does, it's weird, but it's nice.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Saves on where's the toilet paper.
Yeah.
Check the other holder.
Yeah. All right. Give me a little. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Perfect. All right. Well, welcome y'all to this week's episode of Juggling Reality. Today we have my friend Melissa.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
I've got my tea. Mm-hmm. It's very comfy.
It is. I know. I have hot chocolate.
I like it. Don't be afraid of the podcast, guys. It's
No,
great.
it is. I know. Well, you were here the other day when someone was here for an interview and they were like, I can't. I'm too nervous.
I'm like, it's so comfy.
Thank you. We
Feels
tried.
a lot better to be on this side of it, weirdly, than watching. I'm like, just don't breathe. Don't say anything.
Well, the hard part about watching or like being like an extra at someone recording, it's like you want to chat, but you're like,
you're like, don't say it. Don't say it. Yeah,
like, pay no attention to me. I'm just here in the corner.
You got to get one of those third microphones where you're like peanut gallery.
Yes. Yeah. I ordered them. I have 2 more mics coming.
You already planned this.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, because I eventually want to be able to have more than one guest. And then I've got I got to get this set up so I can have like earphones for both of us. Because sometimes that makes it a lot. Or from what I've listened to in other podcasts, people like having the earphones on.
With the earphones, do you hear yourself?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, I would hate that. I'd hate everything about that.
It's a little distracting.
I can't.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't like the voice. Don't like hearing myself recorded. Not my favorite. Which, hi, me, when you listen to this eventually.
Yes.
I hate this.
She will. But we are both working on getting over our shit.
That's right. Absolutely. Ego be damned.
Yes. Because Melissa is currently working on setting up some classes and courses. Because you already will do like in-person little classes. Or you have in the past. So first of all, let's introduce Melissa Rivers.
Oh, hi. Yeah, right. Back to that.
Friend, brilliant woman embarking on making your own business, and your products that you make are amazing. So you're a healer, and how do you, a maker, a healer. How do you describe yourself, Melissa?
A hot mess who really likes and knows a weird amount about herbs and natural products. That's, yeah.
Great hippie, bad business lady.
That is absolutely, that's my tag. I've been told not to put that on business cards, but it's a whole thing. Oh, let's not do that.
Oh, boing.
Everybody, just in case you're wondering, that's how I make sure that I don't miss text messages. And right now, I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. But if I get a bunch of them in a row, it sounds like a really bad guitar riff. It's just all boing, 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 boing. I'm like, ah. But everybody's fine.
Yes.
Stop that. Great hippie, bad business person, but great maker, and I think pretty okay teacher. That's kind of my favorite thing, is teaching people. It's not just, I always will creatively be making and consciously be making, and that's always the healing piece is always a thing. But my actual love of it is people getting to make their own, falling in love with stuff. And, like I said, the hippie nature of also, this shouldn't be just a product that you have to hunt down and find. If there's something somebody's really interested in, it makes them, one, a better consumer for themselves. And, kind of empowers people in their own, healing, whether it's, physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever it is, empowering people to, you're good enough, you're smart enough, and doggone it, people like you. And the herbs never judge. So just go ahead. That's
an important part. But so you and I have some weird things in common. Like, we met out here in California.
Yes.
We've both lived in Massachusetts and Boston.
We both had our Boston time. Yeah, absolutely.
And we
Shout
had
out to my Southie in Brighton. What's up?
Yeah.
Represent.
We both had neck surgeries.
Similar ones. Yeah. Did you too? It was cervical for you too, right? Yep, that's right. See,
yeah.
Look at us falling apart.
Cheers. I know. Cheers.
Yeah, I like it.
Do you have any lasting effects from yours?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, yeah. Absolutely.
That was kind of a leading question.
Oh, yeah. No. And I'm like, let's get right to it. So, yeah, I, so I had myopathy from, which is, okay, folks, so here's the deal. So your spinal cord, kind of like this little straw that beautifully holds, very important things going from your brain all the way down to your body. And I had compression. So basically it's like pinching off a straw from 3 different vertebrae in the neck. And so I was, losing feeling, well, it's funny because you go from losing feeling to having constant electric burning pain, like you're just low grade getting electrocuted all the time. Mm-hmm. And then mine got bad enough where it was like, what's that feeling? And it was like, oh, I'm peeing myself. That's fun. So mine ended up being kind of dramatic and fast. And I will say, technically from the medical perspective, they're like total success. They're like, you're no longer, paralysis risk, the electrical pain subsided a lot. It just gave me a whole new level of pain.
Oh, that's terrible.
Not fun. Right. No. So it was kind of like waking up even after the surgery. I was like, oh my God, this is intense. But successfully, the things that were actually a risk to my life went away, but completely got replaced with what they call functional pain. Like, they're like, but you're not going to die. And it's like, right, but that does something in a big way to your mindset, your emotional well-being, your overall health and well-being. I mean, it depletes, your functionality, your energy, and you just kind of have a whole new world of crap that you're dealing with. So successful, but lingering things. Absolutely. Like my blood type is ibuprofen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Similar.
Yeah.
Yes.
IB positive.
Yeah. What else do you use besides the ibuprofen?
I weaned myself off, all of the narcotic medication that they had me on because it was intense. It was an intense amount. And I love my mom. She was helping nurse me through, but she was like very nurse ratchet about it. Like every 3 hours, she was like, they told you. So it was like 12 oxys a day, like all the, it was just, I was a zombie. And if I was awake, I was still in pain. Like it was just weird. It was like, you're either sleeping or you're in pain. That's it. So it was just felt like I was sleeping, for a long time. And finally, I just kind of talked to them and I was like, so when can I take like just a standard anti-inflammatory? They're like, just Tylenol. And I'm like, well, that's not touching a damn thing.
Right.
So, but ibuprofen always worked for me. And I mean, I just fought until finally, because I also had bone grafting. They're like waiting for all this stuff to happen. So it just felt like limbo. And they're like, you can take narcotics. But the narcotics, even when they it felt like they never touched the pain. They would just knock me out. That was the best response that I had, was going to sleep and waking up feeling absolutely horrendous. So, I kind of weaned off and dealt with the pain. And people go, wow, look at you go and all this stuff. And it's like, if I'm moving, I'm kind of, the pain has to chase me a little bit, right. Like, which sounds silly, but it's like, if you're just sitting there, everything, it's like at the end of a long day, when you sit down, you're like, oh my God, my knees, my back, my hips, all the things. But if you're actively moving, it's almost like it can't quite catch up with you in the same way. Things are uncomfortable, but you're kind of working around it. So yeah, I tried to keep moving as much as I could, and then only used the narcotics when I was like, okay, now I'm not moving. Right. I would like to sleep now because that's the only way this stops it. But that's not a life. No,
it's not. I know, because I've lived that life.
Right. And it's just not a life. It takes it away from you. So, so I basically, fought to, what's the best things that I can do for my body. And the medical system's kind of broken because they're not kind of. It's got some pretty big, deep deficits and flaws. But one of their things are very like, well, you're in pain, so here's all these meds. Or they're like, oh, you're in pain, but you don't want to take those meds? Well, here's these. They probably won't work. in the
Right.
long, and it's like, well, how are these solutions?
Yeah.
You know?
I remember having a conversation with a doctor when I was like, so other than the narcotics, what can I take? And he was like, oh, that's going to be your best option. And I'm like, so if I don't want to take the narcotics, what does that mean? And he's like, probably that your pain's not that bad. I'm like, so those are my options?
You're like, right. And also,
Like, so it's like fentanyl or I'm not actually in pain? Like, you don't see the problem in that?
right. You don't
Like-
quite understand even what you're saying right
Like,
now.
I don't want to be on fentanyl anymore. How about we fix this? Like,
Right.
oh no, here's more fentanyl. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's not.
It's not really a great
Like,
answer
we've already
there,
gotten to the
guys.
fentanyl. Like, we're like, can
Well,
we?
it's also this. It's that feast or famine, right? They're like, you're in pain, you're in bad pain, here you go.
Yeah.
But then it's the, how do I get my life back? And it's like, well, you either figure out how to function on all this,
Right.
for as long as we think it's safe for you to take it, and then we take it away. And if you can function, regardless of how short a period of time it may, you're like, I can do this. But it's like, yeah, who wants to be running a marathon every day?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, yeah.
But we do it.
And we do. And so then, yeah, I leaned on, once I got ibuprofen back, I was the happiest camper in the world. That, and then started coming up with great little topical herbal remedies and things like that actually worked so much better for me than the narcotics were. The narcotics and Tylenol, I was like, I'm basically sleeping or in pain. Fun.
Right.
Because it was just non-functional. And then, making topicals with like things like St. John's wort and arnica and like things that I could topically put on that were going to work fast gave me the thing I was waiting for. But it was such a frustrating process is to get there. And yes, and in cannabis, topical, like that one, absolutely, especially in like a bath, Epsom salt, things. It was finding all these things that are so frustrating, how dismissive that it gets. And then it's, oh, well, this, I could grow this in my frickin' yard. I could go get like, it's just dismissed as, well, hey, that's not what we prescribe.
Right.
So
That doesn't really work.
yeah, well, and it's not even
like-
that they go, it doesn't work. They're like, well, we can't prescribe that and we don't have enough. Like it's just, it hasn't been handed off to them yet.
Yeah. Well, the amount of knowledge doctors don't get is always shocking to me. Like,
It's insane.
and then if they don't do like the continuing work and they're not like up on the latest research, then their practices are like 15 to 20 years behind where other people are.
Well, and think about it, most of them, why are they going to do that? Why are they going to do all the research? They're going through a trusted knowledge base. You're going to tell me, but also this, I'll tell you, years ago, I was in the ER and I'm trying to even remember what it was. Something fucked. Anyway, so something in my body went, zigged when it should have zagged and it was fucked and I'm in there. And the doctor's like, all right, he's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to set you up for an x-ray, all things. He goes into the other room and there's just a curtain. This is like early 2000s. There's just a curtain between us and he's in there. And I am hearing a pharmaceutical rep in there with him going, so here's the deal, man. You can use this for anything, for all the stuff like that. And he's like, and we can get you some of these, and literally I'm listening to this doctor get an entire sales pitch. And he's like, oh yeah. And he goes, so we say it's for but you can totally he's listening to a sales rep tell him all the things that this drug can do. That it's like listening to a drug dealer go, you know what? You're feeling a little down? You ever tried crack? Let me tell you all the things you can use crack for. It's like, maybe you need a little pick me up. Maybe you need, don't let people fool you. It's fine. It was insane. And this doctor comes back in about 20. He's like, yeah, absolutely. And go, and let's do lunch kind of, it was just,
Yeah.
And I'm listening to this and I was just, I shouldn't have been so shocked because none of us are that, naive, I think, especially in this day and age too, like understand what, a rep does. But it was just fucking crazy. And I'm like, and a doctor is going off of what a salesperson is telling them.
Right. And that salesperson is probably
And they're
like,
looking for their commission and their money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a sad follow the money situation. That's really hard. And, walk into a neurologist's office, it's the scariest place in the world because they've got posters and pictures and all this stuff. These people work with the brain and everything in their office is, from Pfizer, from Merck, from wherever. Like, I mean, like literally they and that's, most neurologists are trained to medicate. That's what they do. And that's dealing with the brain. It's scary. It's just scary to me.
Yeah.
To me. That's my
No, I agree.
It's terrifying.
Is your injury how you got into your healing?
No.
Because you were into that. Because you're also an intuitive. Is that
something like that?
Like you have a gift that is not.
I love. You can ask almost anybody who knows me. Like, there's weird things that my brain could do. Like, so I should give it more credit sometimes. But I know every song lyric that I've ever heard. Can't on a significant weird level. But I can never find my keys. Like, I have them in my, I put them down. It's like, and I'm like, if I could have applied all the, I would have 3 PhDs if I could have the focal interest in in a particular area of study. But I like them all. And it just, if something interests me, I'm fascinated by it. With plants and herbs and things like that, there is something kind of weirdly organic, no pun intended, that came with that. I'd look at it and I'd be like, oh, that, I smell it or I touch it and I'm like, that's probably great for, the throat. And then, so there's just ways that I kind of always connected with them. But then I was like, don't be an idiot. Look.
You can swear. It's okay.
And so, right, I forget. I'm like, I don't know. The microphone in front of me. I'm like, is it okay? So fucking anyway. I started digging a little deeper and looking at the oldest, places of knowledge that I could find. Every, botanical medic book, anything I could find, and it was kind of funny. I was right with a lot of them. I was, but then there's other things I didn't think about. So then I started actually trying to understand the terms and the base that all Western medicine, basically all almost every pharmaceutical, is based from a plant, from a natural plant, like aspirin, white willow bark. Almost everything has come from something in nature where we've kind of scientifically looked at it and decided, okay, so we know this treats this. This has been an old folk medicine or whatever. Let's do a little study. Is this really working? Okay, cool. So let's break it down, extract its components, hypercharge them, and do that. And it's like, well, but wait a minute. To an extent, wouldn't it be sometimes safer and easier if people understood what these natural plant medicinals that are really easy and accessible can do before, hyperdosing with something? So it just became, especially when I had kids. When I had kids is really when I delved deep into kind of making home remedies. And I totally did the bougie mom thing. Is I have kids and I'm not going to have bleach in the house anymore. And I was like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. Honestly, it takes one toddler finger painting with their own poop and you're like, no, bleach is back in the house and we're never getting rid of that.
Right.
Sorry, there's not enough, lavender oil in the world. No. I feel like there's a beautiful and important symbiotic relationship with, our current climate, where we have access to really important, helpful things, but dismissing the kind of, long-standing natural path of them is silly. We shouldn't do that any more than we should dismiss all Western you know what I mean?
Right.
They're connected more than we give them credit for. Something like that.
No, I mean, it's very true. I think people forget, or you just don't think about it because so many things are just at CVS. You don't think
Right.
about where that stuff comes from, or
Right.
that all of your pharmaceuticals are or should be based in a natural. I said should be because some of them I'm sure now are just, there's synthetics and things like that. But do we really know how those things are affecting our body and what's the research on them in the long? We don't.
And to me, I'm almost the worst, hippie and talker for it. I'm essential oils and stuff like that. I love them. I use them all the time in a multitude of applications. But I feel like the education piece is wildly missing. And there's people who purport okay, if you ever want to see me go absolutely bananas It's somebody going 100% chemical free on something. And I'm like, okay, so unless it's made out of like magnetism or magic, it's got chemicals. H2O, that's a fucking chemical. Like, I'm like, can you please, like, and I'm like, and that's like a very harsh part of me that I'm like, oh, you're really not helping. Like, when you say everything is chemical free, I'm like, we're made of chemicals. Like, everything is chemicals. And I understand what they mean by that is not, it's not synthetic. Maybe it's naturally made. But then there's also an argument to be made where I'm like, just because something is natural does not mean it's safe. And so I think those are the reasons why I lean into the teaching aspect. I was trying to explain to somebody at one point, they're like, I only use natural things, and I only, and I was like, well, I'll use bleach if I need to use bleach,
Right.
like there's a time and a place. I love the holistic approach, but understanding, the place for everything is important too. And then the idea that scares me the most is somebody going, natural products are always safe. And I'm like, that's so not true. And understanding, I'm like, black mold, natural? Absolutely. Safe? Absolutely not. Would you actively deal with trying to get it out of it? Absolutely.
Right.
I think it's the guided piece that I have about teaching people how to beautifully and safely, create their own habitat in a healthy way. But I really mean healthy. I'm like, healthy, just because it's natural doesn't mean it's healthy. I'm not a big proponent of people drinking the freaking essential oils. Lots of people and I'm like, okay. And while they have been used in like sodas and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, yeah, like a little bit here and there. And I'm like, but a drop of an essential oil might be like a couple pounds of that plant.
Right.
Basically the amount you're getting. I'm like, that would never happen naturally. Your body would never come in contact with that much. You have to understand those things. It's where people get wild allergies and all kinds of stuff. You can already tell this is why I'm like, I like to teach the classes, and I don't go into all this.
Right.
I'm like, here, you can make a perfume essential oil. But I go into this. Hi, when we make that, we're not going to fill a bottle with pure essential oil that you would put on your skin. That's a big no-no. Some of those oils are very volatile. You'll end up with, a chemical burn.
Right.
It's just, yeah. You can tell. I get a lot of feelings about it.
I know, and I like all these feelings. But how did you, so it was just something naturally that you came and you're like, oh, that interests me, and that's how you got into it?
Yeah, more or less. And also I've just always been like a nature kid. I just, nature's always been my jam. My mom, huge like plant person my whole life, like Captain Green Thumb. Anywhere that we moved, it was like, oh, can we plant some stuff in the yard and all the things? And so I've always been around nature and plants, and always kind of loved it. It felt very, organic. But it wasn't. Yeah, I think the kids were probably the biggest. I've always home remedied. Really weirdly, always home remedied. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm super congested and all this stuff. It's okay, time to get, some peppermint, some whatever, steam the face, it was stuff that I knew if I could make myself feel better or help somebody else, it was, pretty easy. I was always a good kitchen witch. I'm like, what you got in here? We can make something with that. But becoming a mother really changed it fast, because there's a neurotic level of having your first kid where you're like, oh my God, you're so great. I don't want to ruin you. Oh my God. Like, and it's like, they breathe wrong and you're like, I'm up. Oh my God.
Right.
What the hell is going on? Like, it's terrifying. Big proponent of, yeah. I never wanted to have kids. Sorry guys, if they ever listen to this, I doubt they won't. But I never wanted to have kids for, a very solid reason, which was just, one, I felt like it wasn't necessary to have more people in the world. Of course, now that they're here, love them to pieces. Like, you never go return on that. Would never return them in or anything. I don't know if that's...
Give them away.
Yeah, no. And love that. And my life would be incomplete without them. Having said that, I was 30 before I had my son. And, okay, we're in a safe place. And he's not even 13 yet, so I don't have to worry about that. But we actually joked, like, for the first 6 months of my pregnancy, we called him Plan C. because the plan B didn't work. I was like, oh, no. And it was like, well, here we are. And he was supposed to be here. Like, I totally get it. I'm like, all right, kid, you win. And you know what? Well played. He's incredible. And so is my daughter shortly after that. But I stand by, because I had friends who were like, well, I don't know. Maybe my life would be more complete if I had a kid. And it's a hard conversation to have with somebody, especially after you're around. I'm like, hey, maybe. But if you're looking to have a kid to complete your life, maybe think about what you actually want in your life, because it's a different situation, It's not about you anymore. Once you have that kid, your life is never yours again. And it's a weird, deep, somewhat depressing thought. I sound like a terrible parent right now, but I'll tell you, I'm like,
I think it's really
them.
refreshing.
It's an honest thing to look at, and it comes with a ton of disillusionment. I mean, I was, not to put my neuroses on the table more than I already have, but I was absolutely petrified as a new mom. I mean, I loved this kid. Some of it was so organic and easy, but it was, just constant worry and fear of the way they moved, all this stuff. I mean, that just drove me to, it all out of love, but crazy levels of not trusting myself anymore. Mm-hmm. I didn't trust myself. So I was constantly asking a doctor, what do you think? Is he okay? All of that. And they're like, yeah, he's a little, so it was just this feeling of no longer having, I used to trust myself and my intuition, but for me and where I was at that moment, it was just like, I don't even, I never knew if I wanted to have kids. So I needed to make sure this kid is always super okay. And I stopped trusting myself.
It's almost like a guilt of I didn't want him, but now I have him. And now if anything happens to him, it's because I didn't want him.
Totally. Right.
But I do want him because I have him.
Right. Well, and also, it's...
Oof. That sounds terrible.
It's a really, and that was just my head fuck. I just want to say, not judge, everybody goes through totally different stuff. But with that, something kind of interesting came out, which was great. So I have a friend who's had 5 kids. All the kids. She's grandma, all the stuff. She, hit it early. Nope. And when my son was I don't know, he's maybe a couple months old. And I'm, calling the doctor about everything, and he had this little kind of crusty stuff happening around his eye, it looked like it, and I was like, oh my god, and I'm freaking out, and all doing these little compresses, and she just leans over, at least she goes, I squirt a little breast milk in his eye. And I remembered looking at her, and I was like, all right, freak show. I was like, listen, appreciate it. Stay in your lane. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck you do with your kid. I was like, are you out of your mind? She's like, squirt a little breast milk in it. It'll clear right up. And I was like, weirdest fucking shit I've ever heard. Thanks, no thanks. Take him to the doctor a couple days later. Talking to the midwife, the nurse who's in there. And she's looking at him and she goes, oh yeah. She goes, just a little conjunctivitis. She goes away. She goes, you can take a little of your breast milk. She put it on a little cotton ball or washcloth. You just wipe it on his eyes. She goes, I don't recommend most people squirt it because you can't aim with those things. Little did she know. I could. That became a party trick later. But, I was like, seriously? And I came back. And it's little moments like that made me go, I love this. Western. And I was also like, this is the weirdest shit I've ever heard. But why? And you look it up. It's amazing. It's carrying, it's most of my antibodies. It's the kids versus vaccine. It's all there's a fine line. There's people who also buy breast milk because they're bodybuilding and stuff. They're like, mother's milk, have some of that. And I'm like, but you're buying it off strangers online. That's somewhere in between all of that. I have no idea what point I was making other than these are very small versions of the weird things that brought me to really investigate more and more of, understanding other remedies. Little did I know, my friend squirted a little breast milk in his eye right on the fucking money. And also, when I went home and I did that, it was better the next day.
That's
like the
wild.
next day.
Because our bodies are made to like sustain themselves. Like if you just give it,
Bodies are incredible.
yeah,
I mean, even like you can ask a cardiologist, a neurosurgeon, whoever, you know, every amazing thing they can do is dependent on the one thing that they can't, is our bodies to turn over cell, to heal, to recreate, to do, like, they're like, we can't do that.
right.
They're like, at best, they're looking at now like labs where they're like, okay, we can replicate, but they can't do the things that our bodies can do. Our bodies are incredible. We've figured out how to access, you know, certain points of healing, but we're meant to, you know, grow, self-sustain, all these things. It's, you know, we got to figure out how to treat our system better rather than constantly hack it.
Yeah. Or hack it in the right ways.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, to me, I'm like, is that a hack or is that, you know, healing? Is that promoting, you know, the best possibility that our bodies have? I mean, that could go into like super crazy conversation way past hippie where I'm like, you know, the amount of our brain that we use and where I'm like, you know, who says we can't start levitating objects with our mind? You know, maybe we just haven't figured out the way to do that yet, you know? But just for healing and wellness, we really defaulted to, like, they're not even Band-Aids, like these weird, you know, a lot of like medications and fixes that don't fix the problem. They treat a symptom. And then it's, you know, when that symptom creates another symptom, treat that symptom and then treat that symptom, but not doing the things that are actually giving our bodies the opportunity to treat the problem so that the symptoms go away.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I think it's finding the problem that you need to treat is the biggest part of that. Like, because you don't really know what the problem is, but so you're just like whack-a-moling symptoms.
Totally. And it's a game of hopscotch, right? You're like, okay, I'm feeling that, but then I did this, but that's great. But now I'm feeling this. And now I got this. So I had this backache and I took this and it kind of helped the backache, but now I got this headache and now I got this headache. But then if I take okay, so now I got this, you know, my big toe hurts. It's constantly, you know, hopscotching through, but it is really hard, I think, to find whatever the root thing is. How do you find the root thing? And I'm not the person who's like, eat a raw food diet and do all the things. I'm like, I am having a glass of tea right now, but I had the option to have whiskey and I thought about it. Like, you know, you know, and there are healthy options and things like that we can take, but I think there's an individual level too of what each person's optimized level is. I don't think everything is going to work for everybody. And I think if we tell everybody, if you do all of these things and live exactly this way, do exactly this amount of exercise, eat exactly this way, do all these things, sure. On a base level, you might be able to control certain things. You might be able to control the diabetes. You might be able to control, but you know, a whole person is also made up of emotional wellness, mental wellness, you know, physical, like they all go together. So having a hollow life, you know, it also means sometimes we have to, you know, come to terms with like, well, maybe I'm having the whiskey because I'm not feeling so great in this way. You know, there's balance, and I think it's a bad idea to tell everybody their balance is exactly the same. And getting to your balance also requires going through your own experiences to decide what changes you want to make, not having them mandated.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate any of those, like, because, you know, over the last couple of years, like, trying to get my life out of a toilet or the rock bottom that I was at, like, trying to look for different things and what helped this person, what helped that person. There's so many of those things that are like, well, if you do this exact program, you'll have this life. But if you don't do it like this, then you're terrible and you're horrible and you're never going to be successful. Well, like, that whole program doesn't work for me. Like, this part works and that part works, but because your whole program doesn't work, I'm an asshole? Like, right. How about you're an asshole? Because, like, some of that's stupid.
It's like a pyramid scheme, right? It's like some people are totally winning at it, and a lot of other people are trying, going, but I can't, this part doesn't work for me and all this stuff. It's like, well, then you'll never make the money, but thanks for playing.
Right.
And it's like, but wait, has it ever occurred to you that this isn't the program for me?
Right, yeah.
And I'm not, maybe I'm not there right now.
Or how about if I take this from your program and this from your program and I make my own? Am I still an asshole? Because I'm making money and I'm getting skinnier, but I'm not on either one of your programs.
My thing is, if the results end with you feeling the way that you want to feel, as long as you're not doing harm to others, have a flippin' day.
Yeah.
And that's the goal. I mean, the goal is also a little bit of, fun. Fuck everybody,
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons, not one of the reasons, there's lots of reasons, but one of the things I really value about you and love is like, you are like, I am this hippie and I am a witch and I am this and that. And I see that you need help. And here's this product that's going to help fix that problem. And someone looking at you and they're like, how do you even know that my brother's sister is sleeping with my friend and it's causing me stress? And you're like, but this is also a little eye cream that's going to help with that. Like, and you just have this, like, people and you have if they look at you like you're crazy, you're like, okay, well, have a good day.
It's weird. It's really weird when I'm, especially because selling is not my jam. I'm not good at selling. Well, here's the thing. I could sell other people's stuff all damn day long. I'm great at, I'm like, if I believe in somebody's prior, I'm looking at it, I hustle them all day long. But me and my stuff, I guess part of it is, it has to feed a need.
Mm.
And so when I look at something, I'm like, of course I want all my stuff to sell and all the things. But if I see somebody that's looking at something and they're talking and asking about, and they're like, I kind of need something for this. And I'll either be going, oh, okay, well, let's talk about what's going on. And then I'll instantly shoot myself in the foot business-wise. But that's okay. I'm like, well, hey, have you ever thought about, do you have this stuff at the house?
Right.
Or you take, guide them to something they can do themselves. Or then they, they're on the fence. They think they might need something, but they're not sure. There's this part of me that's like this, and it's just that weird humanity maternal thing. That's like, okay, look, I want you to try this, because if it helps you, my job is done here, and maybe you'll come back and buy it, but also maybe you'll go and have a different idea of, wow, that helped me. Maybe I can look at other things that, I just hate people feeling stuck. I think I've felt stuck enough in my life that there's those moments where it's kind of like, okay, look, just try it. Just try it. And I like the empowerment aspect, There's a lot of that's psychology, right? If you go through enough, it's like most really good psychiatrists and psychologists, they're like, what does it all fucking mean? And have lost their shit in life. And that, if you see somebody really studying that, you're like, whew, you had a lot of shit go down, didn't you? They're like, uh-huh.
Mm.
But that's a lot of times what makes them so good at it, is the search for understanding and helping when you've felt like you didn't understand and were helpless.
Yeah. Yeah, no, my favorite people are usually the ones that have been through some shit. Because you look at life differently. Like when someone hasn't struggled, I can see those people a mile away. Like, oh, right, your life has been really easy.
Did you notice nobody gave me a napkin? You're like, oh, Jesus Christ, here we go.
Here's a paper towel. Like, what?
I will also say, so look, that's something I absolutely agree on. And it drives me crazy. And, I find it's really funny. A lot of my friends, who I hold the closest, there's, deep dives, trauma, crazy shit that's happened, like all that, and it comes, there's also a funny part of that I look at and I'm like, man, I think we all have some level of what's deep trauma for us, but it depends. And I realized this decades ago with somebody in high school who got into a car accident. They had a very privileged life. They were still my friend, loved him. We had very different lives, very, very different lives at the time. Wrecked their car, all this stuff. But just, kind of had everything and were legitimately, it wasn't a cry for help or anything like that. They felt they were at the end of their life and should commit suicide because the car got taken away. Their parents were so disappointed.
Mm.
They should die. And I just remembered going, what? But it was such a genuine moment. I was looking in this face and talking to this person that I was like, I can't even imagine feeling this was literally, it was kind of like, very upset with you. No more car for you. And it was like, I should kill myself. And it wasn't a tantrum. It was how they truly felt.
Right.
And I was like, Jesus Christ, pain is really subjective, right? It depends on what you've gone through. If you've never, broken a bone and somebody comes over and like smacks your toe, you're going to be like, that's the worst pain I've ever felt. I can't believe it. And it's a big deal. And I think not being a proponent of other people should suffer to be better humans. I'm like, that's a shitty thing. We don't want that. But, pain is subjective, and I do find that some of the most introspective and thoughtful people are the ones who have had all the broken bones, if you know what I mean, in any way.
Well, because the worst thing that ever happens to you is the worst thing that ever happens to you.
Right.
Like, I was just talking about this with someone the other day, and I was like, I could never, I was always like, well, my life's not that hard because I know people whose lives are so much harder. Like, I would be dismissing my own trauma, measuring my T's, well, that's just a little T trauma for me, but they have a big T trauma, so I can't feel bad. And then I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
My trauma is just as, it's my
valid.
trauma.
It's valid, and you throw yourself away in the care of others if it's a comparison game. And that, like I said, that was my moment for me as I'm looking at her going, this is fucking crazy. But I'm looking at him going, they're very sincere.
Right.
And that was the moment that changed it for me. Just internally. My mind could not make sense of it. Because it was, to me, spoiled and crazy and all the things. But looking at it on a human and emotional level, I'm like, this is really it for you. This is your rock bottom right now. And this is breaking you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. That to me, it's such a light thing.
Right.
It could be the thing that takes you off this planet. That fucking matters.
Yeah.
And it was worth sitting there and listening and giving space, even without the understanding. Sometimes it's just the, how can I help? Or I'm sorry, you're it's sometimes just, you don't have to sit there and go, oh my God, you're right. This is the worst thing in the world. Also, most people don't really want to hear that.
Right.
It's kind of like, yeah, no, please, let's not make it a party. But giving it, allowing it to be valid. It's true. That's a truth for somebody. And we're really good at always being our own harshest critic and not allowing our own shit to be that bad. Right. Unless we're in it. And so also I will say this, that person, they also had something that was amazing to me in that moment, which is vulnerability. The vulnerability to actually say how they were feeling and all that stuff. That's not to Brene Brown this shit too much, but vulnerability is courage. Yeah. Right? It feels like weakness. And so that's why we treat ourselves like shit about being vulnerable. Oh, other people have worse than me. No, I'm but it's courageous to go, yeah, I'm not in a great place right now. Even if somebody's in a worse place. Right. Boundaries and,
What are boundaries?
Boundaries are not disrespectful, which is the whole thing. And somebody's like, and it's it's taken a long time to learn boundaries. And sometimes my boundary is this, and I know it drives people fucking bananas, but I'm like, I'm going to shut off my phone for a while. I'm like, if I know my kids are safe, and I'm like, I've got, stuff I either need to hunker down on, or I'm just not. And sometimes it's even this, I want to play some music, lay down, I want to stretch, do some breathing. I feel like there's this self-talk we do in our head that makes us feel guilty about everything. Right? Somebody called and you missed the call. I'm so sorry. And it's like, nope. And I've gotten really good at that, but to the point that people are like, are you mad at me? I'm like, no, I just turn my fucking phone off sometimes because I need to. Yeah. I need to for myself. And also, there's a difference between apologizing to somebody and being, I'm sorry I missed your call, and I'm sorry I turned my phone off and took time for myself. Those are two very fucking different things. I'm sorry I missed your call if you were in a time of need or something happened. Okay, let's catch up and talk about that. And I'm sorry I wasn't there. But am I going to kick the crap out of myself for taking time for myself?
Yes. No.
Usually, yes. Yes. By the way, every day is a struggle. It's a practice. But I did love the wide-eyed, like, yes.
Yes.
That's a yes.
That is a yes, right?
That's a yes, right? We are going to beat the crap out of ourselves all the
I mean,
time,
that's what I
right?
do daily. So I'm just
Totally.
checking I'm still on the right path.
No, totally. All the time. All the time. But that's the thing is these are great thoughts but I'm like, but like anything, it's a practice. And a practice, like anything, you're going to fuck up in practice, like you're going to have the moments where it just doesn't all align. I can have a lot of great methods that work for me most of the time. And then there's going to be a day where I go, fuck this shit. Like, this isn't working. Or I'm going to beat myself up. We all do that.
How did you like get better at your boundaries? Because you are really good about like, no,
I
I
shut
need
that shit
to,
off.
yeah.
I will say this. Remember I just said, am I going to feel better? You're like, yes. I'm like, by the way, ding, ding, ding. So that's the thing. It's like a 60-40, Thankfully, I've got it to the point where 60% of the time I'm like, nope, it is what it is. The 40, I think the part about it that's hard is this, is if I've done it as a true self-care moment where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go play a fucking meditation and lay down. Like, I'm not actively like, I'm going to turn my phone off because I need to focus on this project, or, I'm going to sit and spend time with the kids with home. Like, I'm like, if I turn it off for something that's for me, that's a really hard one to shut off the inner critic when you get a voicemail or you get a text or you feel like, oh God, that was really selfish. And it always happens. Life does love to hand out those moments where it's like, okay, I'm going to do something very nice just for myself. It's not like I'm going and buying a fucking Prada bag. It's like, I'm going to spend 40 minutes doing whatever the fuck I want. And that might be sitting with some fucking snacks, watching a stupid TV show, like whatever it is. But it always happens in those moments that life has a way of, the minute you're done, hitting you with the to-do list, the did you do the thing, the, oh my God, this person was in a crisis, the, oh my God, this bill was late, and that is the hero's trial of, breathing and trying to be kind to yourself. Do I succeed at it all the time? Absolutely fucking not. Not at all. Fucking up all the time. By the way, in case anybody was thinking, that's great, I'm like, you may end up feeling like shit about it, and that's okay. That's okay, because it's the practice of also going like this. Do I deserve to feel bad for trying to take care of myself? And if the answer is consistently yes, then, you're in a really shitty relationship with yourself. And I have to say, I'm in like a borderline toxic relationship where I'm going to therapy with myself. We're very we're trying to make it work. We're trying to make the marriage work. That's what's happening. Because you fuck yourself up pretty easily and often.
Yeah.
If, everybody deserves, but you don't. And then you can flip to the other side of, why don't I get the time? And then, so it's just realizing that we all deserve to be happy and healthy and have our time. And be messy. It's okay to be messy. It's okay to have moments where being okay is, it's not okay. Not being okay. Being not okay is okay.
Right. Yeah. Having those moments where you're like, I just don't have it today.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And I'll have it better tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then not having those hours of
Constant
just beating yourself
flag.
up and
right.
the guilt and I like to call it my gremlins. Like I have gremlins,
Totally.
like little voice gremlins that pop up and they're.
I named my anxiety fucking Karen because she's constantly like, she's like, I'd like to speak to the fucking manager. You should have literally. And I was like, oh, I'm the fucking manager though. I'm like, why do I keep listening to this bitch? I'm like, I'm the manager. I can actually make a decision and be like, okay, Karen, I understand where you're coming from, that you think everything didn't just happen perfect and we're worried about everything tomorrow. But I'm actually going to remember that I'm the manager in a minute and not just get screamed at. And I'm going to go, okay, so thank you for your input. I'm going to move on now. And also understanding that anxiety is not, at certain level, we don't want to wipe out all anxiety.
Right.
Anxiety is also sometimes the thing that gets your ass to fucking work, that gets you to eat, that gets you to do the thing, and healthy levels of anxiety are the thing that, oh, look at the clock. Oh, I need to get moving. I need to, unhealthy levels of anxiety are like, you're ruining everything, like, it's all going to fail. So just, making sure that I try to remember that I'm a manager when my anxiety is in unhealthy levels, and still listen to the bitch. Karen's still, she's still on staff. I need to.
She can be helpful.
Fired. Yeah, no, she she has a job.
She ever helpful?
She really, no, she totally is helpful. Karen, when she's not, for trying to step above her rank, is, the kids got doctor's appointments. There's this going on. There's this. Karen is, when she's good, she's a great assistant rather than an overbearing micromanager. She's going, you got a whole bunch of shit going on this week. You need to bust out the calendar and write that shit down before you forget. And you need to do that before you forget. Like, it's when it gets out of hand is when so many other things are going on. She's like, you haven't written anything down and you're failing at everything and you're not going to, and it's like,
and you're a horrible person and a horrible mother. And
right. And so it's kind of, remembering to manage that, remembering that I'm the manager. Sometimes she's got valid fucking complaints. Sometimes she's like, you know what you did? You didn't do all this shit. And then, her homie, Deborah Depression over there is very like, yeah, you didn't. And I was going to come over and talk to you about all the things you fucked up on. And I'm like, no, you need to take a fucking seat. Sit down with that one too. Do you like that I've named all
I do like it a lot.
I do sound a little psycho about it. But this was a lot of therapy in the making. I think it's conversations where I was like, there's this, and it was like, what is that coming from? And I'm like, it's my internal monologue. And then there's the one over here, and the, kind of naming the emotions and giving him a second. It was like that fucking movie Inside Out. Like, I was like, okay, let's put everybody in their spot so I can have staff meetings and figure out, who needs to take a fucking seat.
No, I think that's brilliant. And
it's so weird, but it's really helped me. Not all the time. Still fuck up all the time. But that's life. It's messy. And it's a practice. And remembering and having little things helps you check it.
What else helps you stay in check and stay on your path? Because
gin. No, I'm not just kidding. I actually have to pee.
Of course, pee.
I was like,
this is the bonus of being recording at home.
This is right.
I was like, I should put makeup on, and I was like, it's Melissa. I don't have to put makeup on.
No fucking video. We're good. What the fuck you doing? I was like, let me get ready because
I'm gonna take a picture of you sitting there.
I'm glad that I put on some makeup.
If you didn't, I would have waited. But
Sandy, who's just like, I'm like, she's like, how goes? Can't wait to see you. Hope it doesn't take as long as mine did. I'm like,
hers didn't take long.
I'm like, pipe down. Back to it now.
She's so nervous.
I know.
She's so cute.
But, she's amazing at everything she does. But that's something that we all do, right? Is fraud police, all the, we're like, I think I'm doing it. And I can sound like I know what I'm, That's why I loved that when I was like, but am I going to be, you're like, yes.
Yes.
It's like, yes, you are
beating yourself up.
And you are correct. And I was like, and by the way, even though this is my method, 60-40. Yeah. Still squirrely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I used to be so self-deprecating, and part of it was a defense mechanism. If I say it before you say it, you can't get me.
Can I? Totally. One of the things a therapist a while back actually told me, she goes, love it, all the things we'd been meeting for I think we'd had 3 or 4 sessions, and she goes, so are we ever going to talk about the humor defense mechanism thing? And she goes, and I was like, what do you, and I said, well, I love joking. And I was like, and I do. And I was like, and I'm big on gallows humor and kind of stuff. Are we still recording?
Yeah, we just.
Oh, rad. We just all right.
We just popped right back into it.
I was like, shit, did we just, all right. Hey guys, how's it going? But it was this whole, just, I felt very confident in that. No, I like to make people laugh. And I like to make, it's one of the things that got me through, darkest things. And nothing is better than when you laugh, when you truly laugh after something just hasn't been funny for the longest time, when you're going through dark stuff. And medically, it's true. Your body releases beautiful, like your serotonin, like all these things shift. But there's an unhealthy level of that you can have that comes from trauma and other things like that, where it's totally a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Where you're protective with you're self-protective with your humor. You're self-deprecating, making jokes, doing things like that because you can't hurt me. I'm already damaged. And that's so bad, but it's something that we're like, haha, I'm invincible. And it's actually just kind of like this really weak shell that I found works beautifully. It's very much like the clay army. It's like, look, you can't attack me. Look at all this stuff. And it's like, hey, dink, dink. You're not even real. You're not even, it's like, oh shit. Don't see through that.
Yeah.
Like, let me just look intimidating for a minute and confident. Yeah. Confidence issues, I think, are a big thing.
Oh yeah.
That's with the self-deprecation and all the stuff. Cause it's faux confidence, right? It's, haha, I could point this out. I'm that cool and introspective. And it's like, I'm so introspective that at a point, if you get to the root of the introspection, it's actually this little gremlin going, I suck. Which is not cute. No. But, but if you come with an army of them it's like the movie Gremlins, at the end, there's like a little mogwai going, but, but you can take down a city with the facade.
Yeah. It was really hard to get out of the habit of it too.
Yeah.
I still sometimes catch myself doing it. Like, I'll make the joke about myself before someone else. And it's like, they weren't even thinking about that. They weren't even.
They kind of go,
they're like,
what? And you're like, nothing, never mind.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to move on.
What? Did you see that? It's a squirrel.
Squirrel. Yeah. I think the cool human part of it is we all struggle with it, but nobody wants to say it out loud. And the most confident, okay, so this is a really interesting thing, and maybe it's just me, but somebody who's listening to this might go, yes! Bullies, people who really bully and talk shit, are, most of them, most that I've encountered, there's this overconfidence about, well, you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about, and all, like, they have some of the most fragile gremlins. You know what I mean? Like, it's the level up level of, I'm going to joke about myself to, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to joke about you and not even joke about you. I'm going to boom, boom, boom and build myself up on your remains. People that I know that have had that like it talked to them enough are so like they hate themselves.
Yeah.
They're really mean to themselves. But never on the surface with somebody else. And it's almost the same. Like, it's weird to find a moment that you can relate with somebody who's being a total douchebag. But that's kind of that humanity crux, right? You can get to a point where you actually look at somebody and you're like, wow, you really hate yourself. Like, and it's an interesting thought to think, one, I don't think that people should have to spend time with people who are abusive or assholes or anything like that. Like, to go, aw, poor bunny. I'm like, don't do that either. No,
right.
No savior complex. That's not good. I had that for a long time. Super fucking unhealthy.
Oh, I'm still in recovery for that.
Oh, I'm still working through my nickname all through, like, from height, like, to about a couple years, Captain Save-A-Ho. That was my, like, cause it was very, even when I was trying to work with my boundaries on self-care and stuff, it was like, can't right now, can't even catch up and have a fun conversation or anything like that. But somebody would, text, or it'd be like, oh my God, and all these things. And I was like, okay, what's going on? All the things, let me show up and help and do all the things. Even if I had nothing to give, it was
right.
Like, stick a pin in it. The amount of times I have been at ERs, police stations, John George. Honestly, there were many moments that I questioned so John George is our local
I was just going to ask what that
was. So John George is For those who don't know, John George is our local psychiatric care facility. That's
Oh, I
still
have been there
around.
because a friend of mine was 5150 while I was out here.
Ta-da! John George. Shout out. All right.
Which is the first time I've been through a friend being 5150.
So here's the weird thing. I have never been 5150. And by the way, I know the way that I said that.
I don't think, like, in case you don't know what a 5150 is, when you get put on a psychiatric hold, it's not that common that someone should be like, it's really weird that I haven't been.
You're a harm to yourself or others, possibly. But here's now here to fuck it up even worse. I meant that genuinely.
I know you did.
It's weird that I have never been 5150 because I think there's been so many moments in my life, that I'm like, but internally, it's just like, and even extra, when I know that I could lose my shit externally, the first thing I do, there was a comedian who talked about this and it made me laugh. And I think, I can't remember what she was particularly diagnosed with, but she goes, it was advice that her dad, and he was like, I don't know what to do, but when you feel like this, you should get away from the people that you care about. And she goes, and that's fucking advice you give to a werewolf, not to somebody who's really struggling. Just go away from people who you might upset or be harmful to. And it's like, Jesus. And I laughed when I saw that so much because I'm like, that actually is naturally, I'm like the advice giver on that. I'm like, okay, let me get far away from people who might either see, because it's also dealing with your own mess and vulnerability. And, there's something about that does feel very animalistic and almost feral. When you feel that depleted or overdone or broken or stressed, that feeling of overwhelm, I mean, it chemically, it takes over, and you can either lean into a depression with it or, just self-hatred or snapping at others or all the things. And I'm just very like, oh my God, I need to take a minute.
Yeah.
And, fix it. The hard part is also, I think, really any chance that we have to fix some of our shit is sometimes being safely vulnerable enough to find the people who aren't going to weaponize, anything that's going on with you. You tell them something at your weakest moment. And we all have the fear, I think, that we're going to be viewed differently. Or we're going to be, always be strong. It's like, no.
It is hard though to ask for that help too. Before you, if you can, before you get to that, you know what I mean? But asking for it is scary, and
it's very scary because that is literally, that's you being vulnerable, and you can't control the response.
Right.
And I've worked on this a lot. Like I said, if we're giving a percentage, let's not do a percentage because I don't want to, no, fucking, Karen and Debbie can go talk amongst themselves. But there's also this thing that got harder and harder for me, which is looking at, it's kind of like a self-character analysis based on also, the amalgam of people that have come and go in your life. And you look at, and you kind of take stock and you look at patterns, right? So it's like, okay, so say you're in one of these really vulnerable and depleted moments. There might be the person that if you choose to come, it's looking at people's personalities. You choose to trust and be vulnerable. And there's going to be somebody who is either going to make you possibly feel way worse, right?
Yeah.
Tell you that all your shit doesn't matter. Do the thing we were talking about earlier, right? Oh, you think that's bad, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, Jesus fucking Christ, I shouldn't open my fucking mouth. And, and when people do that, I think it's also coming from them in that perspective of, this will make you feel better. At least you're not here. And it's like, nope, total opposite. You just invalidated everything I'm going through and told me I'm an extra weak bitch. Not that what I'm feeling is even so, what I'm going through is so bad. But that it's so not bad that you just must be a really weak person because here's all the ways it could be worse. And It's like, okay, feel really good about myself now. So there's that, the well-meaning could be worse.
Yeah.
Then there's the, I'm going to fix it. Also really hard, because in most of those moments when people are feeling like that, I don't know what to do when I'm here. There's the fixers. I used to do that. I used to be that guy.
Yep.
There's a double-edged sword with that. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes, but here's the thing, being the person who's in the other position, sometimes it's great because it's like, oh, is it you financially you need or just help wise you need this, you're just so overwhelmed. I can fix that. I can come in, boom, 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 Band-Aid, whatever.
Right.
But you're not actually listening to the person who in that moment might not have been calling to ask you for a fix. They were asking you, they were going to a safe place to be vulnerable. Oops. You're like, okay, well, here's the thing. Don't be vulnerable anymore. I fixed your problems. Smile. Happy now? And then it's like, oh, okay. Still maybe feeling like shit that I got myself into that position, but I can't really say that because okay.
Because you fixed it.
It's fine. And so then there's the, and then there's the people where somewhere in between, and I love this, and I'm actually kind of almost identifying with this version more now. And I kind of hate it because it makes me feel bad, but it's kind of like this. Oof, that's a lot. I don't know if I got time for that shit right now. And that's the cunty version of me. It literally goes like this. Okay. But with that also comes this. I'm like, I never agree with devaluing what somebody's going through. So it's this. How can I help? Offering the option for them to say what they need. And sometimes, and most of the time it's, I don't know. But a lot of times it's like, just listening and letting somebody have a safe sounding board can be one of the kindest, hugely kindest things you can do for somebody, because it allows them to feel safe, release, get it off their chest a little bit. And then if you're me, crack a joke and make them laugh. Yeah. Great. Perfect. Right? Helps, because no one can fix our situations to an extent but us. At the end of the day, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't help each other. Right. And all have moments, but Jesus, give somebody an opportunity to get what they need. Maybe even ask what they need. So yeah, but so that's kind of a cross between the last two, which is this: either fuck that, I ain't got time for your shit, or how can I help? And I hover between those two a little bit. And I mean, I don't want to be shitty, but I've gotten to the point too with boundaries and other things like that there is also a self-preservation piece that I'm like, with all the love in the world, you're going through stuff. I'm going through stuff. Is this a 911? Is this really that you need to vent and talk? Okay, let's do it. If I don't have the capability to give them what they need, I say that. Yeah. I mean, I actually do. And I feel like a dick, but man, it's kind of freeing because that's the part where it's like, do you beat yourself up about it? Yeah, I feel like shit if I can't help and show up for somebody every time that they need it. But when I take my time, what I'm doing is actually trying to give myself a moment to not spin out and lose it, and then figure out where my safe places are that I can go if I'm actually there to call somebody. And what do I want? Do I want somebody who's going to go, here's the problem with your viewpoint? No. Do I want somebody who's going to go, can I fix everything? No. Do I want somebody who's going to go, holy shit, that's a lot. What do you need? And to go, fucking nothing. Nothing can fix this right now. I think I just needed to have a safe conversation. And they go, okay. That's great. Right. So that's my goal, is to be that person.
It's a good goal.
It's a lofty goal. Yeah. Do I do it? No. Do I win at that? Nah. But I think that's my goal for humanity.
Yeah, I'm good at I think I'm good at that for other people, but like when I have shit, like I don't go anywhere. I just shut down and whoop, like you won't see me.
High five.
I like crawl into my cave and I'm like, or a blanket burrito, like I will figure it out, or I will stay right here and avoid it until I absolutely have to.
I absolutely get that. Like, and that's really, you know, I do the same, and it's messy, but it also, I mean, I think you and I don't know if this is Boston, I don't know what the fuck this is, but we have this whole thing where it's kind of like, whatever, pussy, we'll do it ourselves. Like, and it's like, no, we know that we would never, okay, would you ever expect someone else to go through the shit that you go through and not ask for help if they needed it?
No.
Right? Now, when it comes to you being in a position that anybody else was in, you'd be like, oh my God, well, yeah, what do you need? How can we show up? You look at that as, like I do too. Sometimes I'm like, nope, keep in the shell and fuck you all. Yeah. Like, I gotta fix this because I have to show up and smile and be happy. And, you know, we don't give ourselves even enough love and credit that we would give to almost strangers.
Yeah. I have given it to strangers.
Right.
I have like, here you go, let me help you. And being like, gimping away like a troll afterwards, like, the fuck am I lifting shit for? Like,
I feel like all the work that any of us do to grow when we choose to get in, you know, any aspect of, you know, authentic living, self-care, you know, real rich relationships and love and stuff, it's our own problems that we give the least love to. Because we look at all of our problems as, no, that's me, I'm a problem. Not I have a problem, or not this is an issue. Like, it's like, no, that's me, I fail. Yeah. And I'm broke as a person. And it's like, who the fuck is like that? Like, what? I don't think any of us, and this is from the, you know, the most bully acting asshole person or whatever. I mean, some people I'm like, you need to maybe spend a little more time being mean to yourself, like the way you're mean to other people. But I think at the end of the day, we're all being mean to ourselves. We just show it different. Yeah. We just totally show it different, you know? And even the person who's going, oh, thanks, that's so great, I'm getting everything, like, and feels like they're like floating through life and not caring. I think everybody is struggling in their own way, you know, with the hardest thing ever, which is all these fucking voices in her head. And I'm not like, it's not schizophrenically. I'm not like, you know, when I said Karen and Debbie understand, those are like just analogies. It's not like there's different voices. There are no voices. No voices, just thoughts. We don't want to, John George, stop listening. No, it's just that self-talk, you know, all the pieces of ourselves that can either empower us and make us feel really good about ourselves, you know, fuck yeah, you did that. That's fucking awesome. Or go, remember that one time when you fucked up 5 years ago? And something will bring up a moment or a conversation that you said something embarrassing or did something that you regret. Something will come up, and even the most healed people I know go like this. They're like, shit. Yeah. Oh God, I just remembered that moment. And it's like, are you over? It's like, no, I dissected it, and maybe it wasn't my fault. Maybe it was like I know, and it's fine. And it's like forgivable, but it's like, God, like to every person's self, it's taboo. They're like, fucking, can we not ever go there again? Yeah. Ugh. So, you know, none of us are very nice to ourselves. No. But that doesn't mean it's not a goal or something to strive to be. And it also doesn't mean that when we fuck it up, which, you know, all the time. Yep. Like, that we fail.
And even if you do feel like, okay.
Right.
Like, well, I've been trying to get better at that. Like, because my perfectionism and like trying to like it all has to be perfect before I put it out in the world. And like, I have to be perfect before I put myself out in the world.
Oh my
and
goodness.
it goes back to like when we were talking before we started recording about how we don't have cameras in this room because I don't want to have to look at myself on.
Right. It's just the self-deprecate. We're like, no, I don't want to do
Like,
that.
you're having problems getting some of your classes going for online stuff because you don't want to be on camera either.
Well, and it's that feeling of perfection too. I want every single piece done the best as possible. I want the words to be just right, and I want and then, I mean, compound that with having to listen to my own voice.
Yeah.
Ooh, not a fan. And then look at my in conjunction, my face and my voice while I'm giving information. To listen to the information I'm giving, listen to this weird, gravelly Bob Dylan thing that I do. I mumble, like, so I'm always like, oh, yeah, I don't like it. And, I mean, it's an exercise in self-flagellation and humility, but also at a point, it's an exercise in healing. If we just kind of go, okay, enough. Like, why am I so shitty to myself? It's fine.
Yeah.
And understand, like, I guess my thing too is I'm like, the internet has ripped most people of their empathy.
Really?
It's
You
really
would think
ripped
that,
away
like,
empathy so hard.
You would think something that connects people so
but
kind
it's
of
not
well.
face-to-face. But there's just, the energy is lost.
Yeah. No, I know. Yes. But you would think that something that brought so many people together and brought so much knowledge to, like, such ease. You know what I mean? Like, we walk around with computers in our pockets. Like,
right.
you would think that
that
would be a good thing instead of such a shitty thing.
Right. And to me, I mean, especially having small kids, like, I watch and I listen to that, like, like, they'll be or looking at stuff and they're like, this is funny. I'm like, let's watch that. And all the things. And I'm like, this is really fucking mean. I'm like, it's really crappy. And they're like, oh, it's just online. And I'm like, well, do you think that the person is not a real person?
Right.
Do you think that, and I'm like, here's the only thing I can do in a digital age. And it's hard because everybody's got to live there now. Like, it just is what it is. Would you say that to somebody's face? Would you, if they were standing right in front of you right now, would you do that? And they're like, well, I mean, yeah, if they said and acted, and I'm like, you would? Really? Mm-hmm. And I was like, and then, you'd have the direct response. Like, the fact that we've lost the direct response of even bullies on a play yard being like, you're ugly, whatever, and then having to watch their face, oh, I'm sad, and all that, like, that's gone. Right. So now it's just like, doop doop doop, and on to the next person, doop doop doop. Like, it's just the typing and the judgment. Shit.
Yeah. The
judgment's so hard. Without introspection, you know what I mean? I feel like some of us are a little, if we're old enough that we predated a lot of that shit, we're still kind of like, man, that's bad. That's a little toxic. Why would somebody say that? But then there's also the parts of us that start getting immune to the amount of, harm, like just rudeness, like just, people being shitty. I don't know. I don't really know where I was going with that. But I'm like, I fucking hate the internet. I hate social media. I hate, and I mean,
it's funny that
I hate and I love it. Yeah. I'm like, there's people that I absolutely love throughout my life from, like my, best friend, Erin, and she and I would probably still, but then like my college roommate, all these people who I would have completely lost touch with if it wasn't for having this weird way to connect. And that's great.
I remember when Facebook like first came around and like hearing about it when it was in colleges and stuff like that. Cause I was in Boston. So like we heard about it when it was in Cambridge. I worked in Cambridge at the time. So I worked in between Harvard and MIT. I like to say Harvard like that because, my accent's going to sneak out somewhere.
Cambridge. Hey, I was right by the Galleria. What's that? I was working at Monitor Group. Shout out. Ooh, probably shouldn't say it. But yeah. No, right. Cambridge Galleria.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. It's not there anymore. It's condos.
Is it really?
It is. Yeah.
Lechmere Stop still called Lechmere for whatever reason.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Whatever. They just kept it there. Lechmere was like a shop that was there that no longer existed, but they're like, yeah, fuck it, we'll keep the. Yeah. That's a very Boston thing. They're like, fuck it, everybody who knows. We're not going to talk to you about it.
Oh my God, I can't. They put up the Martin Luther King statue that's been like all over the internet. Have you seen that thing? Oh my God, yes. And I was like, they were like, oh, statue in Boston. And I was like, oh, I wonder where that statue was. And then I was like, what the fuck is that thing?
No, it looks very, I mean, honestly.
It's terrible.
And they're like, I guess the artist only does arms. So it was like, good idea. But like, as it rotates, I'm like, it's not looking. Yeah, please don't make that a Martin Luther King thing where it looks like two hands holding a dick. It's just weird.
Yeah.
It's not
It's
okay.
terrible. No. Leslie Jones, and like she's doing a stint on the Daily Show right now, and she talked about it, and she's like, fucking hysterical anyways. But like
so not having
they're like, from one side it looks like someone holding a giant dick, from the other side it looks like someone giving head to. Like whatever way you look at it, it's sexual.
Right. It's not what we were going for, but. Cool.
Although if everyone's having sex, they're happy, so maybe it's going somewhere. Like.
Just
go have sex. Everyone will love each other.
Sexual revolution, maybe. I don't know.
The new sexual revolution.
Yeah. Why not? I'm trying to make lemonade here. I don't like, and that wasn't a weird sexual pun.
Now I really lost where we thought. Oh, I was working in Cambridge. Oh, when Facebook first started, and then like a few years after I'd moved, it was the first time I left Boston. I'd moved to Arizona, and a few of my friends were like, "Get on Facebook so we can keep, now we want to hear it." And I was just like, "I don't want to do that. That's just stupid." And now we like live on it.
Now everybody's like, "Find me on Facebook." It's what? What's your fucking phone number, asshole? Yeah. Like, what?
They're like, do you have a WhatsApp? Do you have hit me on the DMs and send me a TikTok? And like, what? Okay.
Honestly, the amount of times I've had to Google acronyms in my life over the last 10 years is ridiculous.
Being on a dating site.
Oh, no. See, I never
and
did.
there's all these little things. I'm always like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean?
Never did, never will. And I'm like, no, I don't like people enough. I'm like, I don't.
Well, I don't want to date on this island. Like, if I meet someone on the island, I don't want to be randomly sleeping with people that come into my bar, or I was working with one of the bartenders, and I made a joke at the end of the night about if you don't work here and you're not sleeping with the bartender, get out. And 3 chicks were still sitting there, and I was like, ooh, shit. I knew about that one, and I knew that one used to be, but that one I had no idea about. And
I'm still old with the don't shit where you eat thing. Yes. I don't know.
Well, and it's different for men and women.
Oh, very.
I would be slut shamed for that.
Oh, of course.
But they're high-fived.
Yeah, of course.
And then all the girls are stupid because he's the man.
No, but didn't you know that sexism is totally over? Sorry.
Oh, is that racism's over too?
Totally. Yeah, no, I've just had these conversations. It's interesting.
Someone told you sexism was over?
Oh, yeah. Sex and racism and all the things. And, honestly, the amount of times that I've had somebody go, and I'm like, do you understand statistics? And the fact that you could make them work for fucking anything, depending on where you draw them. I take them from the FBI. I'm like, clearly no problems there. No, not at all. And things are looked at weird. No, totally. Cool. Anyway, I'm not even going to go there because I like myself too much to devolve into that conversation. But what I was going to say is I started off on MySpace.
Oh, yeah.
That was the first social media. And that was when I was still in Massachusetts. Was MySpace, and I was like, what is this strange, weird community? I was like, it's like Craigslist with pictures and shit. I don't understand what's happening, and everybody's talking. Anyway, I was like, everybody was switching to Facebook, and I was like, I don't understand. Why? What's so cool about it? And yeah, I finally got on Facebook. And then I don't know what happened to MySpace. I think it just died.
It did.
It died. Everybody just poor Tom or whatever his name.
I think Facebook bought out MySpace eventually.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. $1 billion.
Oh, $50K probably. It was getting sad. It was nobody could remember their passwords anymore. It was bad.
How long were you in Boston?
I was in Boston. 5 years? 4 years? 4 years, something like that. Yeah.
Because 4
years. I'm born and raised here. Alameda is my hometown.
Oh, it's
not my hometown. I was born in El Sobrante, which is still 20 minutes away. Born in El Sobrante, and then basically lived in the Bay Area, and then second grade. I've been here since second grade at Haight, that is now Love Elementary School, and then We'll See Wood over here. It's an in-joke, kids.
We'll See Wood
Middle School with the Brave Beavers as their mascot. When I moved to New York, because that was my first move. After I moved out of here, I moved to New York.
Were you, how old were you when you...
21.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wise and full of
knowledge
promise, full of promise. Yeah. No, I just fucking... Yeah.
You went to New York City?
I went to Manhattan. So first we stayed in Sunnyside. When I moved out there, they were filming the first. Oof, I feel old now. When I moved out there, they were filming the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. And they were filming it in the neighborhood we moved into. So
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I know, it was kind of. Hey, you could still smoke in bars. It was crazy. Everybody in New York was laughing about California having banned smoking in bars.
No,
that's So here, listen.
Who did you move with?
It's all good things. With my first husband, who became my husband shortly after that, and quickly became my ex-husband after that. So yeah, I will name no names.
No,
but.
Some secrets are good.
Yes, yes. He just, I was smitten. He was so worldly. He'd lived in London. He'd done music all over the place. He was in, like, okay, so this is, apparently, like, at the time, my whole jam was just, like, fascinating. And books and music. He had more music knowledge than me, which was always impressive. And I was like, ooh. And we met on a bonfire at Ocean Beach, like you do. And, and like we just hit it off. He got stranded here because of 9/11. He was supposed to fly back, missed the plane, thankfully. And yeah, we just hit it off and started talking. And in the super intelligent, 21-year-old version of my life, he was like stranded, met him at a bonfire. A couple friends vouched for him, all the stuff. He was, why don't you come and stay with me? Like, not wise. Not a smooth move is to go, hi, random stranger who seems very entertaining. Sure, come stay at my studio apartment with me. Single, tiny, thinking about it very well, woman. Thankfully, he was only emotionally and mentally abusive. Like, there's
thank goodness for that.
That shit only comes out later. So I was safe. But yeah, and then, he wanted to move back, and I was like, well, let's go and visit your family and all this stuff. And I mean, went and just kind of fell in love with the idea of also getting the hell out of a small town,
right,
and away from all the things that, just like, if you live in a place long enough and you have any kind of real life that will consist of traumas, that will consist of things. And at a point, we all have different parts to play in our lives. You're the victim, you're the hero, you're the villain, you're whatever, but learn from them. It's not a bad thing. But there's also a point where if you just keep, especially in young, I was like, yeah, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I'm super over this place.
I think it's a good thing for, like, to live somewhere else, at least for a little while. Just to, like, see how another part of the world is. Or,
absolutely.
like, another part of the country, something. Like, just to get a different
experience.
Because you are different. Like, it's like when you go on vacation. You're a different version of yourself when you go on vacation.
Do you know how bizarre I was to people in Massachusetts?
I'm sure.
Because I'm a California girl. Hello. Also, like, early on, raised as Jehovah's Witness and everything, it was like, be very shiny and happy to everybody. So I'd walk down the street in my neighborhood, and there's, like, old man, like, watering his grass, who I see every day while I'm walking down and I'm like, good morning. These people looked at me like I had something really, truly, like I was carrying a gun or a sign on my head that was like, fuck around and find out. Like, they just saying hi and making eye contact, they were like, have you lost your mind? I do not know you. And it's just like, hello, it was like, make eye contact. And then you make eye contact with somebody and you're like, and my response would be smile really big and be like, hi. And their response was to furrow their brow and be like, I'm going to kill you. Like, it's just like, it's very strange here. People are weird. And it's like, it took me a long time to get used to that. And basically the things that changed it was, making friends at work. Like, that was the only way that I made friends. And in Alameda and California, just in general, it was like, hi, how you doing? Oh my God, you dropped your purse? Okay, here's my social security number. Like, everybody just, like, doesn't care and has no scruples. Here's my key. But there, it was very like, yeah, no, I'm going to need to, like, pass you through a ringer of things and actually hope you go away after about 3 tries, It's like, shit. But working in a working environment is like, I got to know people. And then they were the best ones because at a point, we'd start a rapport. And then it was also this. I was like, it's very hard to meet people. They were like, oh my God. And my partner who was like in the office with me, she's like, oh shit. She's like, I moved it. She didn't meet my neighbor for 3 years. Mm. She's like, that's standard, man. She goes, you don't go knocking on people's doors and shit. What's wrong with you? It's like, really? That's so weird. She's like, no, people have guns. Like, don't do that. Don't go knocking on people's doors, like with muffins. What's wrong with you? You get invited to the potluck. You don't just show up. Like, what's wrong with you? It's like, oh. Yeah, but it taught me a lot. And then when I came back, after the divorce and all the fancy. So I went from New York for a couple years to Boston, then all over there, and then divorce. I was like, bye, and came back to Alameda, and was weird when I came back because I had this whole transition from being in New York and there and over here, and walking to the street, and somebody'd like and I had learned it just in a matter of a few years. I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And I was like, "Wait, no, that was me."
Yeah,
like maybe what the fuck is wrong with me? Yeah, it's weird. I think everybody should experience. I mean, it sounds like such a stupid thing. I'm like, it's not like I was going to like some third world country and I'm like, but experience different cultures. There are throughout even this state, like all over. Traveling is a big deal to understand how different, and maybe picking up the things that work for you rather than what works for your climate.
Yeah. And I think it's great. You get to that different version of yourself. You get to try like a different, and it just gives you a different vibe. Like
totally.
Well,
it gives you a moment to reinvent too.
Yeah.
To have a moment to where you get to kind of, the more that you get to try different things, the more you get to try out what's authentically, what feels good and works for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're being, it's also getting out of what's ingrained in you.
Yeah. And it gives you a freedom because those people don't know your past. They have no other expectation of you. They're not thinking about that one time in fourth grade when this happened. They're not like, there's none of that. Like you get to, and then you see your life in a different way. Because when you're talking to someone that doesn't really know anything about you and you're telling them something that happened, casual conversation, you're like, oh, one time I was in this accident. And like, you're like, oh, and then you have a whole new recollection or like process that memory differently.
I love, I'm 100% with you. I love that for so many different reasons. You know what I mean? I think I've already probably gone over most of it, but it's also just the idea of you get to know yourself more. Mm-hmm. The more you get to know the opportunities and the other things, the other things that are around you. The more you the more you really do get to know yourself, because you don't have the preconceived, the kid from fourth grade. You don't have the, you also don't have the, oh, I live over, oh yeah, I lived, you get to explore, and in exploration, you find, more of yourself. You also get to find out what the fuck does not work, which is great. Which is also when you find out parts of yourself you don't like, I think I definitely found a lot of that through the first marriage. Definitely a lot through the second. It's over. I'm like, oof. Found out a lot about how much I didn't like that one too. But me as well, things about yourself that you're like, oof, don't like that. Want to change that. But yeah, I mean, if all of our goals, I think everybody's goal, no matter how different, is the same. Regardless. Everybody wants to be happy and healthy and authentically living. I don't think anybody's like, I would like to be a fraud forever. Like, no one is doing a Madoff, like, see how long we can ride this shit. Like, everybody's like, I want, happy, healthy, honest, peaceful. Like that, I think people who are living kind of fraudulently, and I think to an extent we all are, because we all live some kind of fraud, right? Like showing up when you're having a bad day and you're like, hello, I'm so very happy. I'm not. Everybody's goal is the same, regardless of how much you tap, you dip a toe or cannonball into, any falsehoods. That comes with exploration. And I like hard-won scars. I really do. I like people who have, but I also, and call this like a sucker hit just because, I'm a mom and I still have pretty young kids. I love the idea of being able to learn and explore enough that I can impart that on my kids so that their scars are minimal.
Mm-hmm.
But their scars are minimal, but their opportunities are vast. You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, how could you get to the understanding here without having to go through that much trauma? Like, walk through the drama, have a couple moments, like, you know, but it's like, you know, those no take back situations where you're like, well, it's going to take a lot of therapy for that one. Cool.
Right.
I'm like, you know, I think the possibility is there, you know, for all of us. And at the same time, the idea that we can bubble wrap the world and still come out better for it isn't really possible.
It's a beautiful thought, though.
It's a utopian, you know,
Yeah.
thought. It's very like, oh.
But it goes back to what we were talking about when we were out having a smoke break, was that people learn by, like, one of the reasons why I want to do this is because I think sharing stories is the way people change. We were talking about how to me, like, people change because of two things. Either something happens to them, or they hear a story and they take that in and and that's it. Like, other than those two, like, those are what change people.
Right.
Those are, I think, the most powerful things.
I think those are the black and white versions, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the gray.
Yeah.
Right?
And you were saying, like, yeah, there's those people that hear something and they just know, like, oh,
I gave
this
a
is your
weird
brain on
analogy,
drugs.
but yes.
Right. But this is your brain on, we'll shorten it to, but like, this is your brain on drugs. Don't do drugs. Oh, okay. I know that's not, I'm not going to do that. And then you have those kids that are like, it looks like that could be fun though.
Right.
Or like, maybe you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to try it myself.
Right. And
then you have those people in the middle that are like, I'm going to test this, but I'm going to believe you on that. But
But even those ones in the middle who are like, meh, I'm going to kind of see where it goes. They, you know, they might have an experience and be like, Mongo, no, that was terrible. Don't like it at all. That did not feel good.
Right.
And then they could also have the dip a toe, like what, and then, oh, okay, I need to pull back. I don't want to become, you know, dependent. And then there's other people who kind of go, I hate this. I'm here. I'm overly, like, here's rock bottom. And hopefully I can claw my way out. The hardship of the black, white, and the grays in between is when you get to either one, I mean, it almost feels like a loss, but there's not. The people who've already gone through and then hit rock bottom, if they get out of it, that's the part that is a heartbreak for me.
Yeah. Is
there are people who, you know, will forever, permanently, or not make it through that piece. But then there are the ones that do. And with that comes, you know, I mean, there's a poetry to it, you know, and to their life and to what they've come through with twitches and other things that we all have, right? It's what we all have through our trauma. And then there's also the people who've never tried and just know for a fact, but then they have a hard time sometimes looking at somebody who's gone to rock bottom. And they're like, well, that was a choice. I don't know why you didn't just listen and all this. And it's, to me, that's the lack of humanity and empathy that is so hard.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, I'm like, well, maybe you don't know exactly what you're talking about and looking at their life without knowing exactly how they got there, what they've gone through, and then also what they've come through. And you've never even experienced it.
Right.
And so I feel like shutting them up is also like, hey, you know what? You get the cookie. Good job. You never went there. But also, you maybe also never had enough experience to judge them.
Yeah. Well, that's why when people are judging, like, that drives me crazy. Like, you can't
judge someone's experience.
Right.
Do you know what I would do in that situation? It's
like you don't know what you would do because you were never there.
You were never in that freaking situation.
And I think some of us, like, for me, talking about some of the stuff, like, I've been through, like, my ex-husband was, towards the end, was not a nice person to me at all. And it turned out there was a lot of years he wasn't very nice. But, like, to say that and admit it, and, like, when I left, like, I just kind of left. A lot of people were like, wait, what's going on? You left You're like, you guys have been together forever. You guys are so happy. And I'm like, no, like, they're like, no, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. Like, someone was like, are you sure you really have to leave? And I'm like, yeah, if I don't want to die, then I do have to leave. Like, because either I'll kill myself or he'll accidentally kill me. Like, it'll be like, it's not in a good place. But, like, one, telling someone that is hard. And, like, two, it's not, if I'm telling you I have to leave, why are you questioning it?
Are you sure?
Are you sure? Like,
it's like,
I'm sorry. Do you want to stay somewhere you're miserable and you know someone else is miserable and, like, that's just going to be the thing?
Well, and also it's like the words that I said told you the finality of where I was at.
Right. Like,
so at that point, it's also like, are we listening? Or are we trying to play one of the many games of,
I know how you should live your life
this
better.
Could be worse. This could be different. Let me ask you a question. Like, how can I fit? Or, you know, like it's, you know, again, having a little bit of humanity goes a freaking long way.
Yeah.
And humanity is not just like, you know, the utopia. Listening.
Yeah.
Listen.
And one of the hard parts
is judgment. Try to check the judgment for a second.
Yeah. And some of the, like the judgment was the hardest part of that, because a couple of people were like, well, you've never told us. And I'm like, well, there were a couple times I tried to tell you about stuff, but when I started to tell you, you started to tell me how that stuff wasn't very bad and that wasn't this. And so I couldn't get to the bad parts, because when I was like, I needed to lead you there a little bit, and you couldn't even let me, because you had to tell me how my life's not as bad.
You didn't even get the safety.
Yeah.
No.
And it's like, okay, but you've never held space for me to tell you, so why would I tell you? And when I try to, you tell me that it's, I'm like, so yeah.
You're like, nah.
Also, it's not your fucking life. Like,
well, at the end of the day, there is that whole thing of like, I think the hardest thing that I go through is this. And actually it's becoming way not hard for me. I think it's hard only because of the ways that I'm trying to explain it to my kids. But it's this. After, you know, I've had abusive moments, all kinds of stuff, you know, all that, like every side of it you can think of. But the only person who is responsible for your feelings is yourself. And that is so upsetting and dirty, especially when someone has really harmed you, has pissed you off, has all the, and it's not saying that they're not responsible for the things they've done, the trauma, it's the and I realize how much I could flip that to somebody, like, I'm like, they're punching holes and doing all this, and it's like, the only person who's like, and their response might be, well, you made me mad, and it's like, well, wait a second. You're mad. I understand you feel that's something I said. But you hit something and you did something. And then also flipping that back to ourselves in the moments where we do shit like that, right? Because it's a pretty natural human condition. It's just nobody really always knows what their levels are that's going to get them there. And then it's backtracking from that and not feeling like shit. And instead having a better understanding. But also doing this. Hi, I'm going to have a boundary with the way somebody else, but so trying to explain to my kids who are doing, you know, like flaring up, punching, and I'm like, hey, and it's, they made me mad. And I'm like, well, you're mad. Right. And that's valid. That's super valid. And they said this, they did. I totally get that. Yeah. I'd probably feel really mad too. It's not about, this is going to sound so dorky, but I read this in a little book with my kids and I went through it and I was like, man, that really helped me. It's like, it's okay to be mad. It's okay to be a little mad. It's okay to be super duper mad. It's okay to be so mad you're enraged. But it's not okay to even be a little bit mean. And there was a part of me that at first I was like, I don't know about that. Like, but I had to reread because I'm like, actually, that is the thing. It's when we weaponize our trauma, right? Yeah. And here's the thing. That doesn't mean that when somebody, like, that does not mean any of the feel like that we're having. It does not invalidate any of it. But it does remind us that we're responsible for our own actions and responses. And that is hard. Because there are so many moments where I feel like I'm getting reactive and all this stuff. And that's my self-preservation moment where I go, I'm responsible for freaking me. Which also means this, if I'm shutting off the phone and I'm taking a minute and I'm going to go sit, if I'm going to go put myself in a timeout to have a breath and all this stuff, there's no failing in that. That's actually a huge freaking win. Yeah, it is. And if anybody goes, oh, well, I couldn't reach you, I'm going to be like, and I'm sorry you couldn't reach me. And I am sorry they couldn't reach me. But am I sorry it took that time? No. But sometimes yes. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. You sometimes might still be beating yourself up, but shh, don't tell anyone else.
We're like,
leave that to Karen.
You know, totally. Yeah, fucking bitch. Anyway. Yeah. Well, this has been very fun, but I'm going to let you get back to your life. But we will have to definitely do this again because we still have so much to talk about. Oh yeah, I mean I'm like I almost feel like we went full circle on some of. I'm impressed.
We did, yeah.
I'm impressed. I thought this would be more babbly.
No, I know we didn't talk too much about your herbs and your products. We'll link all that in the show notes and everything. You know, but because we'll definitely do round 2, maybe round 3, and we'll definitely get help. And I will be helping you to get your courses up and online. so that everyone can take a class from you. Because you do have a lot of knowledge to share.
We'll see how the class is. Like, honestly, I'm like, I have to give you a class.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do them on video and stuff like that so I can temper, talking for 5 hours about something that maybe somebody didn't need to know.
Well, we'll work on that. All right, y'all. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for your time, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Have a good day and find some joy.
Peace out.